This is the update number 4 of the Guillows B-24 Liberator. I'll give the camera to my lovely assistant. And where do we start? Since last time, I totally by the seat of my pants, like we always do. Might as well have a look at a wing. We got one wing covered, and this is monocoat, the super monocoat, and it's the flat olive on the top, and the bottom is park light gray. So it came out pretty good. I kind of wish I could have dragged you guys along through the whole thing, because there's a lot of little tricks and secrets to hiding seams and things with doing ultracoat, but I'll try to, I don't know, teach you something. These are the cooling holes in the motor mounts. So we got a lot of weight out of the wing with those, and a lot of other stuff. I could probably show you better in the other wing. We sanded a lot of weight out of the wing as well, and the fuselage. But you can see once the covering is on and the cowls go on, it'll move some air right where it's supposed to go, right over the ESCs to cool them, and then there'll be a little gap in the bottoms of these lower cowls, and the air can escape. So there's a lot of planking, like I said to you guys in the last video. This is all planked up to give us something for the ultracoat to stick on, because if you have this open, you're going to get a wrinkle out of it. So that's where a lot of this is from. A lot of these corners here are planked for extra strength. Now you can see on the other wing, for instance, when I did the planking, you could see where we had something to iron the covering onto. So we don't have any wrinkles. We don't have any. Now this is an example of what would happen, but there's a cowl that goes over this right in here. You can see this wrinkle, but that's what happens if you try to cover into nothing. You end up with sags and stuff like that. But no, we came up pretty good with the wing. We had some good balsa in this kit, and that makes a difference. You end up with a pretty straight finish when you have some decent balsa to sand. My Superfort kit, that balsa really wasn't that good. It was really hard balsa all the way around. So when you're sanding and you're building your model, we've got our battery cover, and we've got the cover for our servos here. You glue those covers back on when you're building the model, and you glue them on with just a little tack of glue. So, right in this joint right here is where I glued it. So we're at the point right now where we can cut this thing apart. You very carefully go along your seam, and you just get those little joints that you glued to hold this thing solid. That way everything's smoothed out real nice. If you try to hold this in place or try to do it separately, you're going to have gaps, and it's not going to fit right. And as it did, you can see we can move it yet. Maybe you can see. Yeah, there you go. We could move it. We just have a few little spots where I tacked it. It's kind of like tack welding, but you're tack gluing. And then the same with this cover as well. This cover got up a little higher than everything with the magnets on it, so it was really hard to sand it down right. In fact, we got it about paper thin right here in the middle. But that's okay. The covering's going to go over it, and there'll still be something for the covering to stick on. Got the inspection cover here, which I've got wires hanging out of, and it's held on with magnets. Just goes on the cover. We've got the bomb door, and this is for the super snaps. And to do the correct bomb doors on the Liberator, man, I could spend weeks trying to make some kind of light plastic open like the roll desk bomb doors or whatever. Instead, I'm just going to mark those with a pen, and then we've still got this, which we'll be using for the bomb door. And I think I can demonstrate it if I take my handy tool. And this one would actually work out better if I had it hooked onto the radio, but we could still get the same result here. When I plug it in, it should go to its middle position and open up. Okay, so there's our bomb door. And we've got them just with a piece of, this is a firewire, it's fishing line, really, really strong fishing line. And then I took the spring out of the door of an old VHS player. So it's a very, very light spring, and so we go all the way up, and our bomb door is closed, and we bombs away. It opens up quite nicely. There's enough room in here. I'd say we could get 8 or 10 super snaps in there, so there's plenty of room for the power for the payload, or a little parachute guy, or whatever you want to do. But that's one of my parameters. I'd always like to make these models do something cool, like drop bombs. It's always been really neat. So we'll center this at 1500, and then we can show you the elevator, how that turned out. Okay, now the elevator is live. We'll bring you to the back of the model, and it's all covered. This is a lot of work, individual little pieces and little parts to make all that happen, but we got really nice tight control surfaces. There's no play. They're working nice. That's going to be a really nice elevator. And oh, what the heck, I might as well show you the rudders too, the plugins right here. So let's center our tool, 1500, and then this is our rudders. Oh no, which one was it? It was this one. There we go. Okay, and here's our rudders. And they turned out really good too. Super tight, there's no play. Really pleased with that. So those surfaces are done. It's all covering now. That's where we're at, is just this. I've sanded out a lot of weight. You know, we've gutted out the very tail. You know, I don't want to put any weight back here that I have to. But you can also see where just how thin a lot of these stringers got. And, you know, I took them down quite a ways, but not so far that they're going to bust when you lift the thing up and try to move it. We could do a little covering on a wing. Gosh, this is it, where it might get, it might take a while to do some covering on that part. Yeah, what the heck. Let's do it. So, as you can see, I cleaned up for you guys. Now, this is the work area. And I'll get to a point where it's going to be okay, time to clean up, time to get stuff put away. So, a lot of ways you can do it. Like in this case, you know, we could do the whole wing. It's just enough to fit the whole wing. So that would be the proper way to do it. And as you go, you got to cut little areas, and you know, it's just going to take too long. It's going to take me about a half hour, 35 minutes to cover that area, and I'm just not going to do it. That's just too much time. It's just going to be too long on the video. So some of the things you have to do though for prep work, and works really good for me, is these this is for shaving, but it's a very, very fine hair brush. So we've done all of our sanding and we're ready to cover, so it's time to get all the dust worked out of the grain. So you go with the grain, and we get all the dust worked out. And then our covering is going to stick properly instead of running into problems with having dust underneath it. But it's one way, that and an air compressor. Air compressor blows it all out too, but that brush has worked out really good for me many times. Yeah, it's just, it takes a while to do this covering. It's nothing I could just whip up here in the next 5 minutes. Well, we can see. I just don't want to rush it and end up with a crap job because I wanted to make a video for you guys. But, okay. The top will be easier than the bottom. So, let's get a piece of covering. So this is left over from the last stuff I was using. I'm going to want a straight piece, so I just use the scissors like this, use the roll as a guide. Alright, we've got a somewhat straight cut. That piece can be used for something later. So, open the covering. I lay it on the wing. Now a lot of guys, you could lay this stuff down and you could mark it with a pen. And that works out great. Yeah, if you want to, measure everything and get it just right that way. But I can pretty much tell about where I want to be just like this. We're going to need a piece about that big. So, new blade on my X-Acto. And you start right here. If you start at the edge, you got nothing to hold your material. So, I'll come back all the way with it. And going to go through just enough. And I'll finish it off with the scissors. Now this is going to all, we've got a great plenty here to work with. So, I'm going to start this, flip it over. All kinds of dust off the table, but that's okay. It's on the other side. It won't matter. And being monocoat, it's real easy to peel the backing off. Microlite is one of the biggest gripes I got on Microlite. Man, you got to use 2 pieces of tape to get the backing off. So, really over the top. Okay, and we've got plenty to get up both sides. I'll flip it over in my lap, and we're going to tack it on this edge. And this is a trim iron, so I'm using the trim iron. And we're just going to tack these little areas just to get it to kind of stick. And you always want to work from the outside to the in. That's how I do it. I get my outside edges to where they need to be. And then we could always tighten up the middle. Now this is real time, so it's kind of weird because I think most people would do fast motion with their editing software, but I do not have editing software, nor do I really want to take the time to learn it right at this point. Whoop. Just make sure we're straight, pulled tight, and get on this edge. Stick good there. And we can pull up on this other side and get up to our leading edge. I think a goose is flying over. So this is going to be really close to the leading edge. That's what we want, though. Scissors. And cut there. And cut there. And we can lay down our leading edge. It's really close to where we want it. We need to cut back a little more here, just so we get the wrinkles out. And so we're going to be underneath the cowlings, so we don't have to worry about those, anything too haywire, because the cowlings will be covering it. I'll try and get some wrinkles out of it as we're pulling here. So now I'm going to tack this edge with my trim iron. Yeah, I got this trim iron, it didn't work with a crap. And I was like, ah, great, this isn't going to work for me. But the whole deal was the head wasn't tight. So you got to really crank the screws. I'll show you in a second here. You got to really crank these two screws in. Yeah, then the little head on it worked great. So I'll do another cut here for this piece, so he can lay down. It's pretty close. I want to get it closer though. That'll help. Okay, I'm pulling up tight. We're trying to get pulled tight and get all these wrinkles out, because we're already up to the edge over here. So this edge here, we can use the regular sealing iron and nail it. Sealing iron, my big sealing irons, they always put out more heat. They work really good just to really get the job done on these edges. Now we'll relieve it again right about here. I'm all shaky. You guys make me nervous. In fact, this one right now, I think we can trim to about where we want it. And the gray covering is going to come up to the edge anyways. You know, really, you know, I did the other one gray first and then the green, but you really don't tell the difference. I don't know. If you do, you're looking too hard. Alright, so we got this edge wrapped right there. I'm going to get this outer edge. And get a nice snip there. We can go further up, further in. There we go. Now that'll lay down good there. Pull up the wrinkles. We'll get it started there, like that. Lay these guys down a little better because our tacks worked. Did what they were supposed to. Alright, now we're getting out onto this edge. So, I'll just pull this down tight. I'll go up this whole edge, tack this whole side here. This is about where we want them. We'll make that hold down. And up around this corner onto the wingtip. We try and get all the wrinkles out we can, because this is Monocoat. This is kind of unforgiving stuff. It works good. I mean, it's not a terrible covering, but the Parklight is magic. That stuff, you get rid of wrinkles just like that with it. So what we'll do on this side here, now we can cut right up to my edges. I'll leave a little kerf so I could wrap around right there. I leave a little bit of an edge there, so that'll wrap around there. Oh goody, this hinge got glued in when I did this piece here. So it should be in the aileron, but oh well, I guess it's it got glued in when I boxed this in, so we'll have to work around it. But so now we can pull this stuff down like this, and kind of help it lay down. We'll take our big iron and go up and down this side for our aileron cutout. There we go. And now for onto this edge. Want that to lay down right. And we tacked all this, so we'll go over it with the big iron now. And get all that to lay down. Okay, this edge is where you're supposed to be. Cut our little relief on this corner. And our sharp blade. Yeah, one thing with blades, don't buy a 10-pack of blades. Do not buy a 10-pack of blades. Spend $10 and buy a 100-pack of blades. Because you got a total load of blades and you don't have to fight with a dull X-Acto blade. Because when you're doing covering, you gotta have a fresh blade. You just gotta have it. You don't want to be fighting with a blade that's not cutting like it should. That's always a drag when you can't get the job done because your stupid blade's not sharp enough. So buy it by the 100-pack. It's cheaper. So now we can use the scissors at this angle. You can get it right up on the edge, and the scissors is your friend. So we'll go around the kerf. We leave a little bit of a kerf. Imagine about 1/8 of an inch, something like that, to wrap over the corner here. Not quite far enough right there, but that's all right. And then we use our scissors again, and you can get it right where it needs to be just by using the width of the blade of the scissors. So we'll go right up here. And we've got this side. It's still a bit long, but it's real close. We can deal with that now. And this side here, he should come down about halfway, because the gray is going to have to wrap up in there too. So I can try and get him with the X-Acto, although I'm not quite as steady and straight with the X-Acto. But when you got a sharp blade, you don't start at the very edge. You start in just a little bit. Then usually pull the blade all the way. Right on the edge. And then you get this edge. Thank you for holding the monocoat. So then we take our, not quite enough, far enough on this hinge. So make a little notch for the hinge. There we go. Now everybody can lay down and all get along friendly. Make a little notch there, already did. Notch there, we're good. So then the big iron will make this whole side lay down. And it takes more heat with monocoat than the park light. So we're all good there. Get this little corner here. He's in place. Look at that, we're hustling. We're going. We're working it here. We're going fast through this whole process, but that's, otherwise it ends up being a long, boring video. And to some people it might be a long, boring video anyways, but too bad. So, width of the scissors again will give us a nice little curve to wrap around the edge on this end of the wing. You don't want to go too far because you want to glue that wing to the fuse, and you want it to match. Here again, use your scissors as your trim tool. I think they make a trim tool, but I don't know. Scissors has always worked really good for me. So we got them really, really close to that edge. That guy, there we go. Now on a radius, like back here, you want to snip it. So we're going to snip our radius in a few spots, and then that'll let the covering lay down, and it'll kind of overlap from side to side. So start with a big long part here. Get him to lay down. Okay. And our next big long part right in the middle. And work out toward the edges. Okay. I got him. And these are where these little curves come in handy. These little cuts. I meant cuts. And they let the covering overlap so you don't get wrinkles. I need one more right up in here, this very front edge. And why not get one more on that radius as well. Just lay down all the better. There. And that there. There we go. So now we pretty much got our whole outer perimeter is ironed. I'll go up in here, and this is where all the planking comes in handy too. Not only did that make it much stronger for us for the wing rut, but it also gives us a nice area to iron on our covering. And just use the whole heat to work these wrinkles out. So we're up into here, and this is where the cowlings are going to go anyways. So we don't really have to worry too much about wrinkles like right in here. But the rest of it, we want to work them out the best we can without making too many wrinkles out there. Now if we do make wrinkles out there, there's ways around it. And I'll show you that in just a bit. We're running a really high temperature on here too. We're up over 5 for our temperature on these. And that little trim iron is maxed out. Yeah, the trim iron has its place. It works really good for some things. Now you can see we got some big wrinkles happening here. But even though this is monocoat, this is just super monocoat, it's still, you can iron them out. You can still get them out of there. Let's see if we can get these guys to lay down a little better. Up into these corners. And there's a plank in here that I want to get it to lay down into. And it's the fun part. It's also the challenge of getting all the wrinkles out too. It can get real frustrating when you get like in here, you got a whole bunch of micro little wrinkles now. But you keep laying heat into it. And as we go, we can trim stuff out. Like in here, we can open this up now, back to where we don't need it. With our super sharp X-Acto blade. And we're so happy we bought a 100 pack, so we don't have to fight it. I have sharpened them. I have done that. You get the right stone, you can resharpen these things. In fact, I do it. And then, you can kind of recycle them and resharpen them, and it makes life easier that way too. But the trim iron works good for this too, right in these areas. But I'm kind of leaning on the big iron for it. We still got a little bit of trimming to do to Make this lay down better. I don't want to go too far on this edge either because you're going to see it underneath the gray, so that's where I'm trying to really watch it and be careful. We're trying to get some of these wrinkles again. We're just going across the whole thing. Okay, alright. Tell you what, I want to get this plate here. And then I'll show you guys a trick. Now, for using a shrink tube, in fact, I'm going to stop right now because we got it. Okay, wait, we got to get this edge. And then I'll show you the trick. Way to keep you guys dragging along, right? Same thing. We cut our little slots and iron them little slots, one little piece at a time. And we'll usually get a nice finish on the edges that way. There's the long part. But it's important before you start going to your center to have all your edges worked out. And then you could just, tighten up the center and you're not going to be pulling off any edges. We're getting it. Get them to lay down instead of wrinkling over each other too. That helps. That gives us a nice clean looking wingtip. Where are we at for time, lovely assistant?
31.
31 minutes already? God, I told you guys, I told you it was going to take forever. Alright, time for the trick. Shrink tube iron thing. This is for shrink tubing. They're about 10 bucks. Now it's time to rock and roll. It's got to heat up. I got to get a hold of it, right? There we go. And you can just watch everything disappear. Now, another advantage to this is you don't get scratches in your monocoat from the sock on your iron. That big wrinkle there could have been a real problem with iron. You can see we got it with this. We even got those wrinkles right in there. Now with monocoat, you could really lay on it with this thing. You could put the heat right to it. Park light, it's a little more sensitive. You might burn through if you're not careful. Now they make bigger irons just for monocoat, and it's a heat gun, but they're pretty much for bigger models. I like, for this thing, these smaller Guillows models, this iron works really good for these small areas like this. There's a big wrinkle on the edge there. Yeah, we gotta do a little trimming up there before we get too carried away. But there you got it. This $10, $12 tool, it's a hot air gun. It's made for shrink tube, but also, man, it works really good for shrinking back your covering. Yeah, we got really close to the edge there. The gray is going to get right up into the corner of that. But like up in through here too, I'm going to have to trim this down now. and get my edge on the leading edge of here. And you know, there's some trimming to do and some fine work, but there you go. We did one side in about a half hour, and it came out pretty good. Now these wrinkles here, you can press down with monocoat iron and work those guys out and get them to adhere to the ribs in there. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of you're working for a nice finish on these. But this is where all your sanding and all your patience and all your time really pays off to get a nice finish on here. We got a little dimple there. That's wiring. That's some wiring, so we can make that disappear. It'll just push down on that little piece of wire that's underneath there for the ESCs or whatever it is. But yeah, keep working it. But we just saved ourselves a world of wrinkles by using that hot air gun. So that's going to be it for this one. It's getting too long. Like I said, it was going to take forever, but I did it for you anyways. So we've got the tops of two of them done. Got to do the bottoms on the fuselage. I want to do gray down here, and I'll be wrapping the gray onto these stringers all the way across the bottom, and then with the green I can make my wavy line and have it just wrapped over into the gray. And something else, I'm sure you've all been waiting to wonder what I was going to use for a scheme on this. Callie made my graphics. This will be the Zamperini Superman. So thank you so much to Callie for taking the time to make these graphics, because we had very little to go by for Zamp. But this is the Zamperini Superman, is the scheme on this model. So thank you, lovely assistant. And yeah, we're at 31 minutes. Oh no, we got 31 minutes left. So yeah, 37 minutes. It's gone way long enough. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I hope you find this interesting, and I hope you find these tips helpful.